You step up to a glass railing at the top of a very tall building. Below your feet, through the clear floor, the ground drops away for hundreds of feet. You know the glass is solid. Engineers tested it. Thousands of people have stood exactly where you're standing. You are completely provably safe. And yet your body does not believe a word of it. Your legs turn to water. Your palms go damp. Something deep inside you screams a single command. Step back. Get away from the edge now. You didn't choose that feeling. You couldn't argue your way out of it if you tried. Most people assume the fear of heights is simple. You're just scared of falling. Nobody wants to fall. End of story. But that's not quite right, and the real reason is far older and far stranger than a fear of falling. Because this is a fear you did not learn. It was installed in you before you could walk, before you could talk, before you had a single memory. And it reveals something unsettling about how little control you actually have over what you feel. To see it, we have to go back to one of the most famous experiments in the history of psychology. In 1960, a psychologist named Eleanor Gibson built something strange in her lab. It was a sturdy table with a thick sheet of clear glass across the top. On one half, a checkerboard pattern sat right beneath the glass, so it looked like solid ground. But on the other half, the pattern dropped far below the glass, creating the powerful illusion of a sudden cliff edge, a steep drop right there on the tabletop. She called it the visual cliff. And then she did something simple. She placed babies on the safe, solid-looking side and had their mothers stand on the far side of the illusion, calling to them, encouraging them to crawl across. The babies crawled happily across the solid half. But when they reached the edge of the visual cliff, the place where the ground appeared to fall away, most of them stopped cold. They could feel the glass with their hands. It was right there, flat and solid. But their eyes were screaming that it was a cliff. And no matter how much their own mothers smiled and reached and called for them, a large number of these babies refused to crawl out over the drop. Infants who had never fallen from a height in their lives, who had no memory of ever being hurt, took one look at the illusion of a cliff and would not cross it. And it isn't only human babies. When scientists ran versions of the visual cliff with newborn animals, chicks, kittens, lambs, baby goats, they saw the very same thing. Animals that can walk almost from birth avoided the drop on their very first day of life, long before they could have possibly learned what falling meant. The fear of the edge runs far deeper than us. It is written into almost everything that has ever had to worry about gravity. Now, scientists have argued for decades about exactly how much of this is present at birth and how much develops in the first months of life as babies learn to crawl and their depth perception sharpens. It isn't a simple switch you're born with fully on, but the core of it is undeniable. The moment a human being can perceive a drop, a deep, powerful caution arrives with it. You don't have to be taught to fear the edge. The readiness for that fear is built into you, waiting. And it never really leaves. It just grows up with you into the wave of dread you feel at that glass railing. So why is it so strong? Why would evolution wire a terror this deep into us before we can even speak? The answer is brutally simple. For millions of years, a fall was one of the most reliable ways to die. Your ancestors lived in a world of trees, cliffs, and rocky ledges. They climbed for fruit, for safety, for shelter. And gravity did not forgive mistakes. A single misstep at height meant broken bones with no hospital or instant death on the rocks below. In that world, the individuals who felt a jolt of dizzying terror near an edge were the ones who stepped back, who moved carefully, who lived to have children. And the ones who felt nothing, who strolled casually along the cliff, were quietly removed from the gene pool, one fall at a time. You are not descended from the fearless. You are descended from the careful. The terror you feel at a great height is the inherited caution of every ancestor who did not fall. But it goes deeper than instinct. At real heights, your body physically stops working the way it should. Your sense of balance depends heavily on your eyes. To stay steady, your brain constantly locks onto nearby fixed objects, the ground, walls, the horizon, and uses them to hold you upright. But when you look out from a great height, those close reference points vanish. Everything is far away. Researchers who study this have found that without those nearby anchors, your body begins to sway more than usual, searching for stability it cannot find. You genuinely become less steady at heights. The feeling that you might topple over is not entirely in your head. Your balance system really is struggling. And then there is the strangest part of all, the urge to jump. Many people standing safely at a high edge feel a sudden intrusive impulse to leap off. It is deeply disturbing because they don't actually want to die. The French have a name for it, l'appel du vide, the call of the void. For a long time, this was a frightening mystery. But in 2012, a researcher named Jennifer Hames and her team studied it and offered a fascinating explanation. They suggested the urge is not a death wish at all, it's the opposite. Your survival system fires a lightning-fast alarm, an intense signal to step back from the edge. But it fires so fast and so wordlessly that your conscious mind scrambles to explain it and misreads the powerful signal as an urge to jump. In other words, the terrifying call of the void might just be your safety instincts so well that it confuses you. So here's the part that changes everything. Your fear of heights is not weakness. It is not cowardice. It is one of the most ancient, most rational survival programs you carry, installed before your first memory, and running whether you consent to it or not. When you stand at that glass railing and your legs refuse to move, you are not being irrational. You are running the exact instinct that kept your ancestors alive in the trees and on the cliffs for millions of years. Your thinking brain knows the glass is safe, but an older, deeper brain, one that has seen far too many falls, simply does not trust it. For most of us, this fear sits quietly in the background, a healthy caution that simply keeps us careful near edges. But for some people, that same ancient circuit grows into something overwhelming, a condition called acrophobia, where even the thought of a height can trigger full-blown panic. It is the exact same instinct living inside all of us. The only real difference is how loudly it plays. And that is the real story of every skyscraper, every glass elevator, every airplane window, every dizzying overlook we have ever built. We are a species that climbed down from the trees, spread across the flat ground, and then with steel and glass built ourselves back up into the sky. We now stand at heights our ancestors could never have dreamed of, higher than any cliff, higher than any tree. But the alarm system in your body was written for that ancient world, and it has no idea that the glass beneath your feet was tested and certified. It only knows one thing, the same thing it has always known, that you are standing at a terrible height, and that things that stand at terrible heights sometimes fall. So the next time you step up to that edge and your heart pounds and every nerve in your body begs you to move back, don't be embarrassed by it. That fear is not a flaw. It is a gift handed down through countless generations from every single one of your ancestors who felt the ground fall away and had the wisdom to step back from it. They are the reason you are here. And they are the reason, standing safe behind that glass, that you still cannot look down without your whole body whispering the oldest warning it knows.